Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, a really cool update here. So we've got a guy on the left-hand side of this video that we've been talking about a lot recently, and that is Stephane Matala, aka Stephane NFC on Instagram, also known by his alias Mr. Unchained. He's a classic physique pro, and we're going to be seeing him compete in just a few short weeks in Portugal at the Mr. Big Evolution Pro Show, where he's going to be trying to qualify for the Classic Physique Olympia. Now, next to him, obviously, is Andrew Jacked, an open bodybuilder. So right off the bat, you've got an open guy posing down to the classic guy. So, of course, there's going to be a disparity between the two. Now, I think it's worth pointing out that this is Andrew's video that was posted on his page. And we talk a lot about Stephane Matala in the updates that have gone viral of his. Perfect lighting, just like the perfect angle in the gym, lights like turned down to the point where he gets that goon lighting look. Totally controlled setting, and there's a lot of hype behind him right now. A lot of people calling him very similar to Ramon Dino. And what I've been saying is to be cautious, because a lot of times when we get these guys on social media that start to go viral, they get a lot of talk. Sometimes they don't deliver on stage or look as good as they looked in their perfectly selected, the settings of the video, the lighting, all that good stuff. When they can control all those factors, they look a lot better than when they can't, because it's important to remember you can't control a lot of the factors that you can control in an Instagram video on stage. Now, I'm going to be honest, at first glance, I actually didn't recognize Stephane in this video, and I think the main reason for that was his midsection. I think his midsection really looked kind of off here, kind of cloudy. It just kind of lacked definition. For a guy that's just a couple weeks out from a show, that's important to remember here. Andrew Jacked, I believe, is slightly over 10 weeks out from the next show that he's planning on doing if he is going to do the Texas Pro. So Andrew's pretty far out. I don't even think he's officially started his prep for that show yet. And Stephane Matala just a couple weeks out. So I think that either A, just shows us how good Andrew Jacked is, the fact that he's holding his own from a condition standpoint with a guy that's just a couple weeks out, while Andrew Jacked is technically still in the offseason from his Arnold Classic appearance. And of course, there's also going to be a massive size difference, but that's to be expected. Andrew Jacked is an open guy. He weighs over 300 pounds. But that's kind of the compliment that I wanted to pay Andrew in this video, is you've got an over 300-pound open bodybuilder in the off-season with, I think, a better midsection and better abs than a classic physique guy that's only a couple weeks away from competing and is probably 100 pounds lighter than him. That's just how good Andrew Jacked really is. Now, speaking of off-season physique updates and classic physique guys, we got a recent physique update from Kalecinski in Canada, posing in front of that same window, that same door area where we've seen like Dorian Hamilton posing in front of, Ian Valliere, Antoine Vaillant, Quint Beastwood, Regan Grimes, just to name a few. We've seen a lot of bodybuilders, particularly Canadian ones, frequently pose in front of the same spot. Now we're getting to see Kalecinski, and he looks massive in this offseason update. Now, the interesting thing to me about is that he has some room to grow into his allowed stage weight for his height in the Classic Physique division. He can weigh, I believe, 5 to 7 pounds more than he weighed at the Arnold Classic. That's a pretty substantial amount of muscle. And I think you can see here now, what are we, 4 months post Arnold Classic? Some pretty significant added size and fullness from Kalecinski. And the question is going to be, when we see him on stage at the Olympia later this year, will this added size and fullness transfer over to direct increased stage weight and muscle? Will he be heavier at the Olympia than he was at the Arnold? And I've seen some people commenting about his face being rounder and him looking significantly bigger in such a short amount of time. I think that's really what he's got to do if he wants to come in bigger for the Olympia. The window to put on size and then cut back down again is kind of a small window between the Arnold and the Olympia. So if he wants to add significant stage weight, and I would say 5 pounds is pretty significant, he's going to have to do that relatively quickly, and I think that's why you see his face so much rounder than it usually is. Now, in none of these recent posts does actually say how much he's weighing in these off-season updates. So we can't really say for sure like a quantifiable number of how much weight he's gained since the Arnold, but I would say it's probably pretty significant based on this update here. So I think the question then becomes, can a bigger Kalecinski be even more competitive at the Olympia? And I think the answer to that question is if that size is put into the right places. I think especially his arms, because it certainly looks like he's brought up his chest quite a bit. Now, next up in the news, let's move over to a Brazilian athlete, also an off-season guy, formerly Classic Physique, Brazil's Horse.MD, a.k.a. Marcelo D'Angelo's friend and training partner of both Rafael Brandao and also Kalecinski's nemesis, Ramon Dino. Now, this is interesting to me because obviously he had a lot of fans, Horse did, when he was in Classic Physique, but he announced last year that he was going to be switching from Classic to Open because he was having trouble with that Classic Physique weight limit. So we have not yet seen Marcelo's Open bodybuilding debut. He's working with Milo Sarshev to achieve that. Now, I'm not gonna lie here. I'm gonna give a pretty honest assessment. I was kind of underwhelmed by the back poses here, particularly the back double bicep and the back lat spread pose. But I thought from the front he still looked pretty good. Obviously, I think he's got a long way to go before he does make his Open bodybuilding debut. But you can certainly tell he's added some size from where he was as a Classic Physique competitor. But I definitely think those back poses needed some work. I don't know if it was just the angle or what in particular, but that back double bicep specifically looked really pretty off and pretty weird to me. But I think the main takeaway here was how much bigger Marcelo looks from how he was in Classic Physique. I think a lot of people are excited to eventually see his pro debut, not his pro debut, but his Open debut, whenever that might be. All right, so next up in the news, we just got the full competitor list announced for this weekend's Empro Classic in Spain. Now, this is going to be a really big international opportunity for some of these international guys to qualify for the Olympia. So this is, I think, going to be a pretty stacked lineup as far as international guys go. You might not see as many familiar faces as far as U.S. names, but I think this will be pretty competitive internationally. So currently, you have Jorge Zamorano Avila, Wellington Fernando Baptiste, Roman Fritz, Peter Clancier, Michael Krizanik, Joan Pradels, we talked about him a lot, Jose Manuel Munoz, Emir Omaragic, Andrea Presti, Vicente Santamaria, and Christian Wolski. So I think when you look at this list, there's actually a handful of guys here that could be in the conversation for one of the top 3 spots. Obviously, Michael Krizo. I think Peter Clancier is in that conversation. I think Emir. I think Andrea Presti. And I think even Joan Pradels could be in that conversation. I think it's going to be close between a lot of those guys if they do wind up in that first call out. So just immediate first impressions, I would say Andrea, Emir, Joan, Peter, and Michael Krizo. Those are the names that really are standing out to me right now as going to be maybe a pretty competitive first call out. And I believe Wellington is the relatively newer Brazilian pro. He's pretty good as well, so he could be a guy that makes a statement here too. But I really think that overall this is going to end up being Krizo's show to lose. I think this all is really going to depend on how Krizo looks, how this show shakes up. If Krizo's on, I have a really tough time thinking he's not going to win this thing. And I will say, I honestly don't feel like Krizo gets the level of respect that I think he deserves. I think because he talks such a big game going into the Olympia, we saw so many updates, he got so much hype, and then he kind of wound up with a relatively mid-placing at the Olympia outside of the top 10, which I still think was phenomenal for your first Olympia ever to place that highly. And I think because of that, I still see him get a lot of flack, and people say, well, it was just all hype. I really think that he's the real deal, and while he might not have cracked the top 10 at the Olympia, he's still a guy that, coming into a show like this, he should be by far the favorite to win. If there's one thing we know Krizo's good at, it's winning shows. Think about how quickly he made his debut in the quote-unquote NPC, won his first NPC show, got nationally qualified, did a national show, won that show, got his pro card, won a pro show immediately. Bang, bang, bang. Just victory after victory after victory. And then I guess kind of on a whim doing the Olympia, I think we're going to see great things from Krizo this year. And I'm not going to be surprised if he sweeps this Empro show like it's nothing. Now, next up in the news, and I think this is going to be the final story tonight, we talked a lot about Hunter Labrada, some of the physique updates that he had been posting. Well, he recently did a guest posing at the Salt Lake City Championships, the NPC show, where, again, the conversation from people that saw him there and that can see him in these pictures seems to be, wow, he looks improved. And like I've said in past videos, when we talk about Hunter Labrada improving, the thing for me that I'm mostly looking at is his midsection to see if it looks better or worse than it looked at the Olympia now that he's, I believe, 7-8 weeks out here. Keep in mind, he does have to re-qualify for the Olympia. So when we talk about will he improve his Olympia placings, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse because he still has to qualify for the Olympia. So we don't even know for sure that he's going to be there, which I think he will. But even though I'm so focused on the midsection thing with Hunter, you look at this back double bicep shot, and you got to say to yourself, wow, I mean, people used to really criticize Hunter's back. Look how good this back double from him looks. Still, not even, he's 2 months out from competing. And he has better conditioning 2 months out here than we saw from some pros competing in some of the recent shows that we saw. Look at the separation in his hamstrings, the detail in his back, in this back double bicep pose. And again, this is just a guest posing. He's still months away from stepping on stage. Months. I think this is pretty impressive. And hats off to Hunter there, pun intended, because he still keeps his hat on for the guest posings. But genuinely, there's a lot of guys that don't even compete in this good of shape. So I think the next time we see Hunter on stage, we're going to see something special. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, comment, click the bell. All that good stuff helps out a ton. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.